Have you ever stood in front of a stack of unpaid bills and just stared? Wondering how you're supposed to believe in breakthrough when you can't even buy bread? I've been there. I've cried silent tears while pretending everything was fine. Smiled in public, but battled fear in private. People love to throw Bible verses at you. God will provide, He owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. But what do? When the fridge is empty, when the job isn't calling, when the money isn't adding up, and neither is your faith? Let me tell you something that changed everything for me. Breakthrough is not random. It's not reserved for the lucky. It's a covenant. And God honors His covenant. This isn't theory. This isn't hype. I'm not repeating sermons. I'm telling you what I've lived, what I survived. And if you'll stay with me for the next few minutes, I'm going to show you what God taught me about provision, promises, and why your financial breakthrough is closer than you think. Don't scroll. This could be the word you've been praying for. One of the greatest lies the enemy whispers is this: breakthrough is for others, not for you. He'll say you're too late, too flawed, too broke, that you missed your chance. But here's what I've learned. God doesn't bless people based on who they impress. He blesses based on covenant. A covenant is not a wish. It's not a prayer you cry when you're desperate. It's an agreement. Sealed in blood, backed by heaven, and activated through obedience. In Philippians 4 verse 19, Paul writes, "And my God will supply all your needs according to His riches and glory." We love to quote that part. But most people miss the context. Paul wasn't talking to everyone. He was talking to givers. People who sowed even when they were struggling. People who gave out of their lack. And Paul was saying, because of that obedience, you qualify. Let that sink in. Provision follows sacrifice. Abundance follows alignment. It doesn't matter if the economy crashes, if you're laid off, if you're down to your last 1,000 Nigerian nairas. When you enter covenant with God and walk in obedience, His provision is not delayed. It's already moving toward you. Don't confuse God's timing with His absence. He's never late, and He never breaks covenant. You may not see it yet, but your breakthrough didn't skip you. It's just waiting on your yes. Some of us are still waiting for money to fall from the sky, while ignoring the idea God already whispered into our hearts. You're not broke because God hasn't blessed you. You might just be overlooking how He's blessing you. Deuteronomy 8 verse 18 says, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to create wealth." Did you catch that? Not receive wealth. Not pray it down. Create it. He gives you the power, the blueprint, the ability, the idea. But you still have to move. That idea you shelved? That side hustle you've been doubting? That skill you brushed off because it felt too small? That's likely where your breakthrough begins. We pray for provision, but sometimes God answers with a prompting. The real question is, are you ignoring God's answer because it looks too ordinary? Listen, wealth isn't magic. It's not luck. It's strategy born in the secret place. God's people don't need handouts, they need clarity. And when God gives you that clarity, run with it. I've whispered this prayer countless times. Lord, thank you for giving me the power to create wealth. Open my mind to divine ideas. Show me what's already in my hand. Guide my steps, and I'll build with what you've given. And He always responds. For a long time, I gave when I felt like it, when it was comfortable, when I thought I could afford it. But God isn't moved by leftovers. He's moved by faithful obedience. In Malachi 3 verse 10, God says, "Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, and test me in this. See if I won't throw open the floodgates of heaven." And listen closely. That's the only time in the Bible God says, "Test me." He's not asking you to believe in fantasy. He's inviting you into a system of supernatural economy. When I began to tithe in faith, not fear, everything shifted. I didn't get a lottery win, but I saw refunds I didn't expect. Contracts that had been ignored for months were suddenly renewed. Even my leftovers stretched further than logic could explain. Because the tithe isn't about money. It's about honor. It says, God, I don't trust the system. I trust you. Some of you are praying for breakthrough, but you're still holding the seed in your hand. Release it, and watch what heaven releases in return. This was my prayer. Father, I return the tithe to you because it belongs to you. I align with your word, not my worry. Open the floodgates and pour out what only you can. And he did, not because I earned it, but because I honored the covenant. There's a story in 2 Kings 4 that wrecked me in the best way. A widow was drowning in debt. Her sons were about to be taken as slaves. And the prophet told her to do one thing: go borrow jars. Not a few, and as long as she had empty jars. The oil kept flowing. The oil didn't stop because God ran out. It stopped because she did. And that's when I got it. God's provision is often waiting on our preparation. I asked myself, do I have jars ready? Do I have the faith capacity, the bank accounts, the structure, the margin to receive what I'm praying for? And when the answer was no, I made room. I cleared my schedule. I opened a second account. I wrote down business plans that had been sitting in my heart for years. Some of you are praying for God to pour, but you haven't brought him anything to fill. No jars, no faith steps, no space. My prayer became simple. Lord, I make space for your provision. I present my empty jars, my simple plans, my fragile faith. Fill them, breathe on them, multiply them. And the oil began to flow. Debt feels like a prison. Like you're stuck in a cycle with no exit, working, paying, stressing, but never breaking free. I know the feeling. I've laid awake at night, drowning in numbers I couldn't fix, praying for a way out and hearing nothing back. Until one day, I stumbled on a passage I'd read 100 times. But this time, it hit different. Deuteronomy 15. At the end of every 7 years, you shall grant a release, because it is the Lord's time of release. Debt was canceled, not because people paid it back, but because God said, it's time. That word pierced me. I realized maybe I was praying the wrong way. I stopped begging for more money, and I started praying for release. I negotiated. I paid what I could. But then I prayed over every remaining balance like it was a spiritual battle. And God moved. Out of nowhere. 2 debts were wiped clean. One collector called me and said, we're offering you a settlement. I didn't ask. I didn't beg. God did it. That wasn't coincidence. That was covenant. This became my war cry. God of freedom, I stand on your word that proclaims release. Cancel what I cannot cancel. Restore what was lost. Break every financial chain that still binds me. And chains started snapping. We love the big testimonies. I paid off all my debt in one day. I got the 6-figure transfer. God turned my business into a $1 million brand overnight. And yes, God can do that. I've seen it. But sometimes, breakthrough doesn't roar. It whispers. Jesus didn't teach us to pray for wealth. He said, give us this day our daily bread. That sounds simple until you're in a season where even today feels uncertain. Where you're counting change at the bus stop. Where you're praying that your data lasts till Friday. I've lived through those days. No groceries in the house. And then a neighbor shows up with extra food. No fuel in the car. And a friend offers you a lift without knowing your struggle. That's God, too. Just because it's small, doesn't mean it's not supernatural. Provision isn't always flashy. Sometimes it's faithful, quiet, gentle, right on time. My prayer in those moments was simple, but powerful. Father, I trust you today. I won't worry about next week. I don't need to understand tomorrow. Give me today's portion, and I'll praise you with it. And somehow, he always did. One day, God hit me with this truth like a lightning bolt. I didn't bless you so you could coast. I blessed you so you could build. That stopped me in my tracks. We keep asking for just enough to get by. But 2 Corinthians 9 verse 8 says, God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work. That's the real goal. Not comfort, not clout, not a fancier life. Breakthrough is meant to give you capacity to feed families, to rescue children, to build schools, to plant churches, to rewrite generational stories. I stopped praying to pay bills. I started praying to fund purpose. God, give me enough to overflow, enough to sponsor change, enough to fund what matters in heaven. And when my motives shifted, so did my miracle. If you're still asking for survival, that's okay. God sees you. He cares. But once He meets you there, don't stay there. Ask for more. Not for greed, for impact. Because your abundance isn't just for your comfort, it's for your calling. You've heard the testimonies. You've seen the promises. You've felt the tug in your spirit. But now it's time to make a choice. This breakthrough is yours. The question is, what will you do with it? God's promises aren't passive. They require active faith. Faith that moves. Faith that speaks. Faith that prepares. God is not late. He's waiting on you to make space for what He's already releasing. Maybe you've been in debt too long. Maybe you've been struggling too hard. Maybe you've been waiting for a miracle but haven't taken action. Well, now is your moment. You don't have to wait for everything to be perfect. Just take the next step. If this stirred something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you know is fighting the same battles. Because when we walk together in faith, we multiply the impact of His promises. And subscribe to join this movement. Let's reach 70,000 people with this message of hope, faith, and kingdom provision. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. And your breakthrough is closer than you think.